hopefully Nick Saban gets his wish of 10 SEC games per season so his overrated conference can stop feasting on FCS teams to inflate their records. Now, Antonio, on the very, very tippy-top surface, you and I do agree. I'd love to see the SEC go that route too. And you and I agree, I'd love to see FCS scheduling done away with. However, where you and I are diametrically opposed is claiming that the SEC's overrated and their scheduling is inflated and their strength of schedule is not really all it's made out to be. These statements, just, you know how rarely I use this word, they befuddle me. I get them all the time. It is the weirdest argument that I most frequently find myself in, and that is the SEC strength of schedule argument. And you got to be careful with this thing, because see, here's the trap. When someone argues against SEC strength of schedule, you take it flat-footed because you think they're joking. And the next thing you know, they've gotten you across the jaw 4 different times with, well, recruiting rankings are overly inflated for SEC teams, which hype them up in the preseason. Then they get overrated in the AP poll. Then that means there are more top 25 teams, which means their players get drafted more frequently and they get more preferential treatment in bowl selection. And you're like, I thought you were joking. Are you serious? Do you really believe that? Yes, they really believe that. SEC schedule truthers are out there. And I know a lot of them are in the live chat right now. If you're watching live, watch the live chat. They'll happily out themselves. They don't walk around embarrassed about this. They think they got the truth on their side. Here is the best way I can equate this, and there's no way I can do this without insulting South Dakota. I've never visited South Dakota. I really appreciate the interior. I appreciate the heartland. I'm going to suck up to your state and tell you I fully intend on visiting there one day, only because of what I'm about to say. But there's no other way around this. I think Florida is a better state than South Dakota. I think it's more desirable to live there. That's my personal opinion. It is not shared by anyone else in this building necessarily. And so, here's what I want you to picture, because we're big on metaphors around here. I want you to picture South Dakota and Florida locked as states in a debate about which is more desirable to live in. Because that's kind of how the strength of schedule argument goes. When you're arguing that the SEC really doesn't have as strong a schedule as you think they do, and when they put those FCS teams on there, it really devalues their schedule. It makes it easier for them. I'm sitting around like, even with the FCS teams, they're the toughest schedules in the country. Like that's always been my comeback. If you got the schedule like A&M's played the last couple of years, I don't care if you're playing Sam Houston, whatever, or whatever that college was Dabo talked about. I don't care that you're playing FCS competition because I know what else is on your schedule. Anyway, picture the South Dakota versus Florida debate. There they are. The states themselves have marched up onto the debate platform. And South Dakota looks at Florida and says, Florida is not desirable to live in. And Florida goes, yeah, we are. Have you seen the sunshine down here? Have you seen the beaches? And South Dakota says, you got swamps in your state. And they just dropped the pen. You got swamps down there. You got FCS teams on your schedule. You got swamps down there. And Florida looks back, just dumbfounded, and said, well, yeah, we do have swamps, but we also have hundreds of miles of oceanfront property. We also have a temperate climate. You can actually go outside here in the wintertime. We have sunshine. We have citrus. Like we have a lot of things, and then you get interrupted, and South Dakota just comes right back at you and says, no, but you have swamps. That's it. That's the end of the debate. You have swamps. Well, that's not the end of the debate. Nor is Alabama plays an FCS team the end of the debate when you're trying to discount the overall strength of their schedule. Because here's what else they have. They have Texas A&M. They have Arkansas. They have Auburn. They have LSU. They probably got an SEC championship date against Georgia. And you know what else they have? Here's where rubber really meets road to me. It's obvious Georgia's good. It's obvious A&M's loaded. You know who else they have? They have Mississippi State. They got Ole Miss. And those are the kinds of games, because those teams on average are finishing with like 6 or 7 wins, something like that, that get looked at nationally by people who want to make a counter argument, and they say, why should they get credit for playing 6-6 Mississippi State? Well, here's why. Because on any given year, per roster, Mississippi State has Sunday players way more frequently than the Purdue's of the world would, or way more frequently than Wake Forest's of the world would. Yet sometimes those programs that have more wins than Mississippi State. Why? Because someone's got to lose on Saturday in the SEC West. That's why. So I didn't used to believe this argument myself. I used to believe that the SEC was a little bit top-heavy And then outside of the big dogs, the rest of the conference was no different than the rest of the country's middle and bottom tier. I was wrong. That's wrong. And I can tell you confidently, when you go and talk to NFL scouts, unless the NFL's in on it as well, the overall talent level that you're facing, therefore the overall bigger, faster, stronger impact of collisions on Saturday that you're facing, it stacks up. It's just hard to face them. It's not hard when you're playing Georgia because you know they're good. But there's some teams on the average SEC schedule that will not be impressive record-wise that you go against, and your training tables are no less crowded on Sunday morning. And it's not the case in some other conferences. Now, I'm not arguing against the Big Ten here. Some people automatically go SEC versus Big Ten. I think the Big Ten schedule is plenty tough. But there are some other schedules out there, you know, in this whole a win is a win, a loss is a loss, you are what your record says you are culture we've developed in college football that are not equal. That's why we've never been believers on this show that you are what your record says you are. So I guess when I look at it, I don't like FCS teams being on a schedule, but if Auburn were to play, pick a team, Alabama State. If Auburn were to play Alabama State and Ohio State plays Akron, to me there's no difference. One of them is an FBS team, one of them's an FCS team. You're winning by 40 plus, it doesn't matter. But yet one gets credit and one gets criticized, and I've never really cared about that. So, no. To answer the question, yeah, I'd love for Nick Saban to get his way. I guess it wasn't a question, but I'd love for Saban to get his way because I do want more competitive games. I do want a more attractive schedule. But if you think for a second that the overall caliber of SEC schedule deteriorates because you put an FCS team on it, no, you lose me there. That's where you lose me.